So have you produced any preview videos?
I believe that I was holding off on that. I've got one where I did a video with Chip Towers. Chip Towers is the resident reporter for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution down here, and Chip Towers has been covering the University of Georgia football team and the Atlanta Braves for the Atlanta Journal-Constitution since I think 2009. He was on the show, and he gave us some pretty good information. So that's the closest I've come to actually putting out a video for that. The upcoming video is going to come out this weekend. That particular video is going to be an in-depth video where I'm going to go through and kind of break down what I think from the offense on both teams, what I think from the defense on both teams, who the playmakers should be and could be, what the offensive plans should be for each team, defensive plans for each team, as well as, the injuries, who's in, who's out. One thing I do want to point out, though, is that regardless of whatever my prediction video is, I'm going to try and call this game as accurate as I think I can. I'm not going to pick Georgia just because I'm a Georgia fan. I can pick Georgia every game, and eventually, I'll be wrong. But if I pick Georgia to lose every game, I'll be wrong a lot more often. So if I pick Georgia to win, I'm not picking Georgia to win because I'm a Georgia homer and I expect that, on average, they win these games. If I pick Georgia to win, I've got to come up with a legitimate reason why I think Georgia can beat a team that they've lost 7 straight to. And why do I think that? To me, the best indicator of future performance is past performance. And the question is what past performance do you measure? Do you measure the loss? Do you measure Georgia's dominating defense all year? Do you measure that, Alabama has more Heisman Trophy winners recently than Georgia? Do you measure the overall dominance that they've had in college football? How do you measure that? So that's one of the things I've got to break down. But one of the things that I do want to point out is I think that a lot of Georgia fans have given Stetson Bennett a bad shake here. I think we've looked at his past performance over the years and went, man, golly, we've got a walk-on and we've got 2, 3, 5 stars sitting on the bench. Why is Stetson Bennett playing? So I want to put this out there for both Alabama fans and Georgia fans and just college football in general. If I asked you, which quarterback do you think has the most passing yards per completion that is a Power 5 team? Who would you guess?
Which team?
No, which team or which quarterback? Which quarterback has the most passing yards per completion
in all of Power 5 football?
Mm-hmm.
I thought you were asking between JT Daniels and Stetson Bennett. Okay. Okay,
that's fine. You can answer that one too.
Okay. So yeah, you were going in the same direction I thought. So Stetson Bennett does.
Yeah.
And I know this because I looked at the stats, but also because you're leading us that way. So
yeah. So Stetson Bennett is number 4 in the country overall, and he's behind FIU, Coastal Carolina, and UTEP.
Yeah, their competition.
Yeah. And then Alabama, Bryce Young is ranked 30th. If we look at passing efficiency, Stetson Bennett is also ranked number 4th, but Bryce Young is ranked number 5. So I think it's unfair to Stetson Bennett to say he's not a good quarterback, because if you actually jump into the stats and you look at it, he's actually a really good quarterback. It's just that we as Georgia fans have this stigmatism that he's a walk-on and there's a 5-star on the bench and, he's made some mistakes. I think we're overanalyzing the bad things and we're not recognizing the good things. Stetson Bennett is more than capable of winning this game. Cherry-picking stats, Uncle Rico says. Sir, there's not many other stats you can pick from. There's passing efficiency, passing yards per completion, and then overall passing yards. Well, efficiency is really one of the things that a lot of coaches look for. How efficient are you with the football? Because when you throw the ball, what am I going to get out of it versus if I hand it off? Because every time you throw the ball, that means you can't hand it off. So you have to weigh that out. When you've got running backs 4, 5 deep at Georgia that are 4 and 5 stars, you have to have a really good reason to pass the ball. And if you're going to pass the ball, you're going to want to make sure that it's efficient, that you're getting something, you're getting a return on that investment. And if you're not getting a return on that investment, you're just going to hand it off.
Yeah, yards per attempt or yards per completion. You can go either statistic. They're slightly different for different reasons. Obviously, the pass per attempt or the yards per attempt will also factor in the completion percentage, and that factors into it. But the yards per completion just on the balls that are completed. But it's a reason why a lot of people that break down football, that know a lot about football, go to that number, because that tracks the effectiveness of your passing game. How much are you getting out of the passing game?
Well, I think if we go back and we look at, I think it was Joe Burrow, he was averaging, I think it was like at one point he was averaging 18 yards a pass. It's just some insane number.
Yeah.
And you go, wow, 18 yards a pass. That's incredible. And then you turn around and you look and you go, Stetson Bennett's throwing for almost 16 yards a pass. And Joe Burrow demolished everybody and won a national championship. And I think he won the Heisman. Did he win the Heisman?
Yes. Those are
he won the
completions.
Yeah. And I'm not talking about pass per attempt.
Yeah.
I'm talking about actual completions.
Yeah.
So I think it's unfair to think that Stetson Bennett is a bad quarterback. The stats clearly bear out a different story than that.
I never thought he was a bad quarterback. I always thought that he made 2 or 3 mistakes, which everybody makes mistakes. So
right.
I go to this line a lot because I think way too many people, at least that watch my channel, watch too much Tom Brady and Aaron Rodgers on Sunday and expect college quarterbacks to throw like that, where they're pretty much flawless. Every college quarterback's going to miss on 5, 6, 7, 8 throws a game. If they're throwing the ball 35 or 40 times, they're going to miss on some throws.
Well,
That's not many.
No. And if we look at,
there's a difference between missing a throw and making a bad mistake, though. And so Stetson would make those 2 or 3 bad mistakes per game.
And if you look at, let me back up a second here. If you look at most of the teams in college football, I mean, for goodness sake, we've got quarterbacks in New Year's Six bowls that were throwing for less than 50%. And those are the teams that are making New Year's Six bowls. So
we do.
I think Ole Miss quarterback had less than a 50% stat, didn't he?
Not their starting quarterback.
Oh, he's still a quarterback in a bowl game.
Well, yeah, that came in for Matt Corral, maybe.
Oh, now you're cherry picking stats.
Well, their starting quarterback got hurt like in the first drive of the game, the second drive of the game.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, maybe their backup quarterback at Ole Miss, but certainly not Matt Corral. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the country, so he doesn't have a less than 50% completion percentage. Speaking
of which, Matt Corral, fortunately, it only ended up being a sprained ankle. So
yeah,
pretty excited for that guy, because I mean, if you ever watched Matt Corral play, man, the guy is just an incredible talent. I would really like to have seen what he could have done with a team that had a little more talent. So, but yeah. As far as the stats go, when you've got a quarterback who's throwing, 65%, he's not getting sacked a whole lot. And just to point this out, I think you have to compare apples to apples. So if you look at Stetson Bennett's completion percentage is like 64.5%. Bryce Young's is 67.5%. So a 3% difference. So 3 more balls out of 100 Bryce Young makes. Now, Bryce Young has thrown for 46 touchdowns and 5 interceptions, which is better than Stetson Bennett throwing for 27 and 7. The big factor I want to point out here, though, is that Stetson Bennett has been sacked 9 times, and Bryce Young has been sacked 35. 0 of those sacks come from Georgia. So if Georgia can play the kind of football that it should be playing, Georgia should be able to sack Bryce Young. He should be able to interrupt the passing, and it should be a very interesting game.
It should be. It should be fascinating. I don't expect a 17-point spread either way. Again, I expect it to be tight, but we shall see. And again, history tells us that do not bank on a split and do not bank on a sweep. It
Yeah.
just doesn't show us one way or the other. It shows us that it's a brand new ball game, and it's definitely the two best teams in the country and two evenly matched teams from a talent perspective.